Hello, and welcome to the 6 months, 6 figures series of the W Freelancing podcast. I'm your host, Zach Swinehart. I'm here with Maia. And in this series, you're going to follow Maia's journey as I coach her from early stages freelancers to a 6-figure annual income, aka $8,333 a month. So the challenge is to see how quickly we can get them there, and if we can do that within 6 months. So I connect with Maia every week or two, and it follows a very similar format to within the DYF Accelerator community. So if you want to get coaching like this for yourself, you can check out the community at dyf.link/DYFA. So Maia was just telling me something that has me feeling very excited, which is that she had good results with time tracking. And this is wonderful because I'm always nagging everyone to track their time and get insights, and no one ever wants to do it. But whenever they do it, they're so glad that they did. So Maia, you teased a moment ago that you had a very good week last week. Just to refresh everyone here, where we left it was 8 days ago that we met last, and your goals were to create a hypothetical service offering and do some interviews to explore if people were interested in that and maybe pitch a beta test to some. You had it down to calculate the effective hourly rate of your coaching clients and time boxing your Telegram support time for your coaching clients and track your in the business versus on the business time. And you said you had a very good week. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I feel like I was very wise last week because all this time tracking, it made me like visualize like where I was spending my time. And now that I have the goal to like making my like effective hourly rate or effectively hour rate. I don't remember what you said.
You had it
but,
right
like,
the first time.
Okay, cool. To have my rate to be 150. Now, every time that I'm working in a project and I'm working more, I'm starting to see it like that. And in the time tracking, I'm starting to understand which type of projects I should be pricing more and which type of projects I shouldn't be having more. And it's making me want to chase Basecamp, like my big branding projects.
Nice.
Because I've realized that the coaching clients are the funnest, not the most profitable. So I think that was a huge win of last week, actually.
Yeah. And I guess that's that wisdom part. Like, at least now you'll know, okay, if I want to do this coaching thing, but I don't want to sacrifice my rate, I just have to charge more, or I have to find a way to get more leverage with more one-to-many or whatever. What did you find out your effective hourly rate was for Basecamp clients relative to your coaching clients with the Telegram time and all that stuff?
I'm still seeing, because it's like I like what you said about like a worst case scenario client and calculating it from there. I think it varies, like something that I would charge like say 2K, it would take me less than 20 hours, which I thought it used to be a really good rate. But a worst case scenario clients, I could be making $60 an hour. So it really, really, really depends. But I think I'm closer to making Basecamp consistent 150-hour rate than with my coaching clients.
Okay.
And the thing is that the best case scenario for a coaching client is so profitable, so profitable. But the worst case scenario, it's really easy for time to slip, and it's really easy for me not to track the time that I'm like, saving things on Instagram for them, or like sending them things on Telegram. Because it's something that doesn't feel like work, but I'm starting to really see it as work. Like now that I started to time box on Telegram, it's like, oh, wow, okay,
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have, I think you said you did a toggle report. So if you want to share your screen, we can look at that, or you can send it to me. But you said that Basecamp was closer to 150 an hour than the coaching client. I know you're still testing the coaching client thing, but like, I would be interested to see, at least looking at this last week as a snapshot, what the projected, like, air quotes, cost on a monthly basis for a coaching client is, if you can make guesses. Well, maybe the first question is, were you able to time box your Telegram time successfully, where you just say, I only do it on these days during these times, or not really?
Yeah. And I also, because I started with Toggle this Monday. So because the last 2 days I didn't work so much because I was vacation mode and everything, so I was like, I'm not gonna track 3 hours. I didn't do much. I was onboarding a little bit here and there, but this week was really cool because I onboarded from zero a new coaching client that I'm doing like coaching and templates with her. So it's a little bit of like design and coaching, and everything is there. Plus a lot of support on an actual like retainer client. So you'll be able to see that.
Okay, cool.
Let me share my screen.
And before we go crazy deep, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to check, because sometimes with these 6 months to six figures ones, because it's like a different scope and it's this recorded thing, it's easy for me to forget like my normal accelerator office hours format, which is,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to take away today? What are you hoping to leave with? Like, if you're imagining yourself going towards this 6 figures goal that we have for you ASAP, what do you see as your current biggest thing that's getting in your way that you want to focus on taking away today?
I think not being able to consolidate my offers and being so all the time like improvising, oh, I want to try this new thing, oh, this client loves this, I'm gonna mix it with this and that. But I do want to just like stop sending decks and just have it on my website and feel so confident pitching. Like I just pitched what used to be playbook, by the way, that I'm calling it one-on-one aligned content strategy, or just aligned strategy. It's still 2 weeks. It's still, we meet once, 1.5 hours, and then I give you a PDF 2 weeks after, and you have that support. But I pitch it to her in such a way that I scheduled the workshop while we were in the clarity call. Like it was the first time that I said, wow, this is a service. So this one, I feel already comfortable to putting it in my website, for example. So I feel like for me, the best, yeah, it would be to just have my offers so consolidated and stop this like beta testing of like, oh, this works, oh, this was too expensive. Does that make sense?
It does, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper, because there are some people who you can't even, like, I think Ramit Sethi is this way. Like, you can't even find their paid shit on their website. Like, you can't even find the sales page unless they've decided you're ready to see it. And so I like the motivation, I think, behind it, what you're saying. Like, because I assume the core pain, it's less about probably about the actual reality of having it on your website, and it's probably more about feeling like you have a thing that works and that you're not reinvesting so much time and energy into trying to figure out what works, and you're just doing the thing that you have. I assume it's more about that than the actual
Than the
having.
website.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally.
But to me, I don't know. I mean, when I think about what you've been doing, it doesn't strike me as coming at the expense of payoff, because I'm trying to think of how to articulate this. Like, the best example I can give you is when I was younger in my agency, I decided one day, I'm going to target this niche of Hawaii real estate websites. I don't live in Hawaii. I don't care about real estate. I'm just going to fucking do this specific niche. And it didn't work in the end, but I invested so much time into like buying HawaiiRealEstateWebsites.com and making a website and making postcards and doing cold calling and doing all these crazy invested things into this random niche as my example of experimenting with something. But I don't see you doing that. Like, what you're doing is you're just trying to find out what people care about and what they're willing to pay for. And to me, if you were to say, all right, today is the day, I'm going to formalize everything, it might be kind of premature, because you still don't know how much time a client costs you. And so without knowing what a client costs you, without knowing what people value the most, without knowing where people to get the highest ROI, it's really, really hard to formalize your packages. So it's good knowing where you're at there, and we can definitely prioritize getting you there, and it's what we've been working on. But I think
Totally.
it feels like today is too early, and probably for you, I'm not hearing you saying that you think today is the day, but you're just saying it's the biggest pain. So I feel you there.
But that is amazing to hear, because I needed to hear that, because I am having fun in the process of trying and saying, oh wow, I can create things and people are gonna buy them, And I am also not at my final prices. So if I put it on the website and I'm like changing them all the time, like it just feels a bit phony. So yeah, hearing that was really helpful. And like it sounds crazy, but I feel like I almost have no goals. Like I just feel like I'm in a good path, I really feel guided by you, by the things that I'm doing. So my goal is to, I guess time is always a problem with freelancers. And now that we're doing more like nerdy time tracking, like I think we're going to see a lot of like findings. But I guess, be more intentional with time and be more intentional with the pricings when we see the time in analytics. And, I'm not an analytic girly, but I want to get into it a little bit. So that's
we
my
can
goal.
find the heart-centered, spiritual, other keywords that apply to you version of time tracking. That's what we'll do.
I love it. Soul aligning work. Amazing.
Yeah,
I'll
aligning,
show you mine.
time tracking, vibration, maybe would be in there. I'm not sure.
I'll show
Hopefully
you
this isn't
my. I'll
offensive.
show you. No, it's not. It's so obvious. I talk like that actually with my clients. So,
Side note,
okay. So
this is
tempo.
relevant for this thing, but I've been working on creating brand voice guides so that I can like write for
Uh-huh.
clients and identify my own brand voice. And there was one of the brand voices in there was the like the yoga mixtape brand voice. And I was reading the description of that brand voice. I was like, oh my God, this is so Maya. Maya, I bet, is the yoga mixtape brand voice. It was great. All
You
right,
need
so
to
let's take a
send me
look at your, yeah, I'll send it. Let's take a
that.
look at your time report.
So I hope you
Okay, so first
understand
question.
it.
The first question is this all your time? Because you said you had the holiday days. So this time that I'm seeing here, you didn't forget to track your time for any time that you were awake and at
No.
work.
This is all my on Monday, like third. We met on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was vacationing, and then today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every single minute I have tracked every single minute.
And so like this gap I see
So
on Wednesday between the meeting with Athena and the proposal, what was happening in that gap?
my life, I just did a big lunch or something.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
So
this
like
today.
you weren't like saying, oh, I shouldn't track this because if I'm
No.
reading a book about business, it doesn't count as work.
No. Everything I tracked. Even here, I created a reel about Italy and I even tracked it because I was there. And like my reels, even though they're like about nomad living, they are part of my content strategy for
Okay,
booking
cool.
clients. Like for me, it's lead gen, So, so I tracked every single thing.
And if you're like here on the coaching session with me, or you're on some accelerator thing, or you're watching a DYF course, you're tracking that as like
I'll put
learning
it,
or something?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll
cool.
put it here.
All right, then the easiest way for me to understand this is if you can go to that reports page.
Here.
Yeah. And then if you can click, well, first I want to look at what you got. Okay. And then click the little down arrow above the number 4. It's kind of at the top left of the project.
Down, this one, down arrow above the number 4. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So this shows you like the expanded time entries grouped together within the project. And then can you sort by duration, please?
Yes, group by...
to the right and then down under show amounts. This is going to be weird for anyone who's on the audio only version.
Yeah.
But I guess, so sorry, not in the drop down, below the drop down. So for the audio only people, I'm basically having Maya sort her toggle entries. So sorry, let me, Maya, no, escape, don't, wait. No. Okay, so the word duration has a little up and down arrow next to it above 4.
Yes, I understand.
Just click the
so
word
group
duration.
By, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And by
click
duration.
the word duration.
Okay, I'm really bad at this type of thing, Zach.
No worries. So what I'm seeing on Maya's screen is that she tracked a total of 12 hours and 45 minutes in the past week. This is we're looking at 1 week, right? Can you go to the top real quick?
This is from Monday to Wednesday. This is, yeah.
Okay. But this isn't, I'd like to see since our last session. So click at the top where it says, unless you only started on Monday. Did you only start tracking on Monday?
Because I took Thursday and Friday off. So
okay, gotcha.
I started
cool.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay. So these past 3 days, Maya's tracked 12 hours and 45 minutes. The biggest chunk of the pie chart are her one-on-one expansion clients. And then below that, we've got content strategy, which looks like it includes if you do Instagram marketing, that would also be under content strategy, or would you have that under a marketing project?
You know what? Here, this one, Kate and Digital, actually, this one is also I'm going to go back to where we were, but this is also part of aligned clients, like aligned strategy, not content strategy. Content strategy is just my own content strategy. So just add 30 minutes into this. So it was actually, I spent on a one-on-one expansion client, like 5.5 hours, pretty much.
Okay. And if you were, so you know how like a few weeks ago, I said like Maya, or a month or however many months, it's been a while now, Maya, go do 5 hours a week at Instagram marketing. Would you be tracking that to content strategy, or do you have like a marketing one for that?
No, that's content strategy. I group it
Okay.
all. And like I used to do it in my last one that was called Focus to Do, and I would just say content strategy because even if I'm posting something about Italy and Morocco, whatever, people hire me because I am the digital nomad designer. So from those hours, a lot of them are also like creating my content and getting really like intentional with posting more consistently.
Okay. Well, then what we're seeing here, since it's just 3 days, probably we don't need to prioritize for today like a really deep time audit because there's just not enough data. But maybe by the time we've done it next week, we will have more. I'm going to do you know roughly right now how many hours a week, including on the business and in the business work time, how many hours a week you're roughly working right now?
Yeah, lately like 30, 35, or 30, I would say I'm working 30 hours. And
Okay.
I'd say I'm working no more than 5 hours on my business.
On it. And then, so you're saying 25 is in your business?
25 is client work.
Okay.
And maybe 5 or 4 are content strategy, my own content strategy, organizing photos, adding, captions, doing client highlights and stuff.
Okay. But just to clarify, I'm going to write this stuff down. So you said you're currently working 30 hours a week, right? Okay. 30 hours a week and then 5 hours on the biz. And that includes, like, when you say you're doing 5 hours a week on the business, that also would include like you do SOPs or Notion templates. You're counting that as part of the 5, or would that be more if you're counting that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put SOPs here as a separate one. And I put also a blank page team. I put it as something separate, but that's on the biz. Like I need to organize a hierarchy of Toggle, and I'm potentially gonna change to Rise. But I will like get better at organizing. I'm actually feel like I'm good at like classifying things.
Yeah, usually, well, you saw the blog or the time tracking workshop, so like usually the way I do it is I will start in a way that lacks specificity, and then I will add specificity when I need it. But I think if you've seen the time tracking blog post on the site, I delineate all my toggle categories from my consultancy. You might get some ideas there. Like for my team one, for example, I like to have one for instructing and one for management or meetings because they're different kinds of tasks. Like reviewing someone's work to me feels kind of different than the assigning of the work, at least for the stage of my business. So this is helpful to see. I want to just do some math real quick. So if you're going to be going for 30 hours a week, and let's just suppose we wanted half of it in and half on, just hypothetically if possible. Ideal 50% allocation in/on means that your in the business time would be 15 hours a week times 4 weeks equals 60 a month. And then 60 times 150, what is that? It's more than we need, I think. Yeah, so 60 times 150 is 9,000. So if equals, but it's not a lot more. So like if we're saying, and obviously 6 figures is arbitrary, it's more of an indicator of trajectory than saying, oh, okay, Maia's making 83.33 a month. Now she just stops right there.
Zach.
But nonetheless, if we're using this as our little target for the sake of the series, and it's always just a nice loose target. The thing is, if you work 60 hours a month in the business at $150 an hour, that is $9,000 a month. But obviously the difficulty is that when you work in the business, it's not all billable. Like if you're, doing invoicing and stuff. But right now you're booking your projects at a flat rate. For this onboarding you did, for example, you said you tracked it. Is the onboarding totally done and now it's like all is left is designing and coaching, or what's that kind of represent?
Yeah, with her, the content so with her to explain, it's the onboarding is done, the session is done, the setting up her dashboard is done, and now the only thing left to do is maybe an hour of Telegram support and craft her PDF, and then I give it to her in 2 weeks. So this aligned content strategy, they're pretty frictionless. unless the client needs a lot of support. But I do need like has to be me, like you had it in the video, you know, it has to be Maya because I have to onboard them. I am writing the notes of the meeting, like the post meeting notes and everything, but it should be done in 4 hours. And that's the 888 one.
And what about this? I see setting up her expansion dashboard as 45 minutes. Did you have to personally do that, or is that something that you could have theoretically delegated?
I did it, but why did I take so long? Did something happen that it took a long time? Setting up her expansion dashboard. Yes. I had to setting up the dashboard and the meeting notes. So I write all this was after the content strategy playbook session. And then after I set up her expansion dashboard, and actually does take me like an hour. Like setting up the dashboard, I have them duplicated. It takes me like 15 minutes. I record a video, I give them a tour, but it does take me like an hour to download all the resources that I gave them, write it down, maybe plug in anything that I mentioned, templates, you know. It does take me an hour, and it has to be me. So,
but
like it has
does
to be
that
minimum.
part have to be you, the downloading of the assets? And let me give you an example to help you think this through. So suppose you go to the doctor's office. Like the doctor is not working at the front desk. He's not like, yo, or she's not like, yo, come on back, let's chat. And then you go back and then they do all the initial paperwork and then they do the meeting. Like they have an administrative person working the front desk. The administrative person walks you to the office. You wait there for like 6.5 hours. The nurse comes in, takes about 3 seconds with you, says the doctor will be in 5 minutes. Another 6.5 hours go by. And then finally the doctor comes in. And then the doctor chats with you. So like all of these things are kind of delegating everything that the doctor doesn't personally have to do. So similarly, when we look at this, are there the Maya FaceTime tasks where it does legit for now have to be you that you're doing, but that some of the things like the distillation and the creation of the dashboard, is that more like nurse work, or is that indeed stuff that the doctor has to do?
No, it's very nurse work, but do you think that should I delegate something that actually takes me 15 minutes and then I just do it, you know, and then I record the video and then I don't have to check, like maybe I'm in the very early stage of delegation where I just think like, oh, whatever, I'll just do it myself because it's easy and I know how to do it. But I've thought about the onboarding. That would be a huge SOP and it would be amazing to just have someone on board.
15 minutes probably doesn't feel worth it. But if it's an hour, which is what I was thinking from like when I'm seeing, for example, the bank plus references, what is that? Is that you collecting stuff in advance?
Onboarding her to her. So these 2 people I am doing with Donna Garzon, which is my client that I am testing this 888 model. I am actually doing I'm dedicating, I said that I'm dedicating an hour every Monday or Tuesday to her content strategy by creating a content bank for her, looking for references, and that also paired up to me onboarding her. So it was 15 minutes of the onboarding plus just an hour of like downloading all the references that I've been saving and just doing like a little research. So that one also has to be me.
But to challenge you there, I wonder, because you have a junior designer who presumably is quite capable of finding references, I wonder if you gave your junior designer the right direction, if they could get you some references and you kind of curate their list down with your secret sauce. So like then getting that 1 hour's worth of references maybe took you 5 or 10 minutes.
I like that. I like that a lot actually, because she's amazing. Yeah, she would be great for that. So,
and the nice thing is that every time you do that, she gets a little bit more of an idea of what your taste is, and she gets better at reproducing your taste.
Wow. Yeah, I love that actually. And she will see how I work with clients, because this curating her stuff is feeling really good for me. Like I've been, researching artists and everything. She's like a holistic skincare specialist, and it's been really beautiful to look for like somatic references and information. So I think if Anna, my designer, starts doing that, it would also like educate her on the type of things that my clients are doing. So yeah, that's a really good idea.
The question I would have for you is there any risk? Like suppose you shoot a little Loom video for Anna and you say, hey, For this client, I'm wanting to find references about blah, 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 blah. I like the idea of somatic, whatever other thing you said. Like, these are what I'm vibing with. This is what I want to be going to find. This is how I'd be finding places. This is what would be motivating my seeking. And here are like the KPIs of what a good result is and what it's meant to do for us to help the client. And then you set her out and she got you a list and you generally liked it. You curated it down to what you liked best. You merged it in. In that situation, is there ever a risk? Like, I don't think so, because if this is just kind of a mood board, I would think this wouldn't apply. But is there ever a risk that if you missed a good one, you might cause some damage? Like, does this list need to be comprehensive or does it only need to be inspirational? Like, what's the KPI of a good bank of the inspiration stuff?
Honestly, I think at this point, inspirational, because this is first time I pitched her a concept that was comprehensional. Like, okay, we're gonna do more somatic healing, and she liked it. So from now on, it's just gonna be, having more of that.
Cool. And then that's perfect. Then what starts to become your superpower here is that suppose you're valuing your time at $150 an hour, and suppose in the past onboarding a client took you 5 hours. That means that you essentially paid $750 to onboard a client, in air quotes, because if you're paying with your own time, and that time's at $150 an hour. But now, if it's able to cost, like, suppose your junior designer costs you $25 an hour, if it now costs you 4 hours plus $25 an hour, then that means it's now the equivalent of like $625 cost. So you, like, quote, save yourself $125 an hour because now you can go spend your time on something else that you can't have somebody else do. And that might take the form of more expansion clients that you're able to serve, or it might take the form of more marketing to get more leads or whatever. So that's an interesting exercise we just did. Cool. I'm glad that was eliminating.
Yeah.
And expansion, you said, is the 8 at 8 playbook thing. What other time is going to go into this client before they're finished? You said just like another hour and a half, and then that's totally sorted. You're not forgetting anything else?
Pretty much another hour of support. I take like an hour to create this thing that now I call the playbook. That's like what stayed from the name. That is their PDF. That is like their like content playbook. This is how you do things. This is your voice. This is your content bank and everything. And that does take me an hour. It's probably not something that Anna could do, because I was the one that led the workshop, and that does require like my sauce to curate it, and that's really what people are paying for. So I feel comfortable doing it. And it's design. It's all design. Like, I just need to change the what is there, but it does take me like an hour. So yeah, a good one-on-one expansion client should be like 4 or 5 hours max at 888.
But sorry, if you said it both has to be you and it's easy because you're just changing what's there. Is that really something that a good designer who's not you couldn't handle if they're just like kind of tweaking something that already exists?
I just need to curate it. Maybe I just want to do it, Zach.
Yeah, if you just want to do it, that's totally cool.
I'll show you after. It's super interesting because I started doing like the tags that I have. I'll open it in another window just in case.
And to give you the listener context, Maia has also been rating things based on how they affect her energy, whether it brings it up or down. That's something I stole from Dan Martell from Buy Back Your Time. And so that's what I taught in that workshop. And she has been tracking that as well. And I'm guessing she's about to tell us that this curating final step pushes her energy up. Let's see when she pulls up the tags.
I love it. I can tell you from now, one-on-one expansion clients, I love setting their expansion. I just feel like, yes, girl, I'm going to change your life. Like, let's do it. I feel this energy. I love it. I'm smiling. What finances, I hate doing finances, but it has to be me because it's personal finances. Blank page team, I love onboarding my team. I love sending them looms. Okay, team, this is what we're gonna do this week. Mali, you're gonna work on this. Anna, you're gonna work on that. Doing a monthly retro like meeting on Loom, because I didn't want to do like a real meeting because I hate meetings that are more than one person. So I recorded them and then I made them record one, like 5 minutes, just prompts on that. Like, that felt so good. I guess I'll show you here with the tag. So tag, I enjoy and want to continue doing. So it is pretty much everything, seriously.
Good. Well, that's a wonderful sign.
I think so. Blank page, yeah, I really like meeting with potential clients. Of course, I love it. It really energizes me. Planning
Good.
a collaboration for the podcast situation that I want to do. Basecamp clients really makes me happy. And even here, like post playbook admin work, like I love it after a session, just sitting and seeing the notes, and it's like, okay, what am I gonna do with this client? But I guess it's more insightful to show you. I did it like this. I enjoy it and want to continue doing this task. Then
Hmm.
this task can be automated to tech. That's another that I put. And I don't think I have a lot of that. Yeah, finances, but I don't think I can. Studio finances, July, I think I'm gonna end up doing something like Honeybook or, client portal, whatever. Because the studio finances are they're very manual. I have them on Notion. I never thought I was gonna have clients booked in advance. So now I'm like, okay, I might need something more robust. And then I guess like sending the proposal to a client after we meet, that also could be automated. Client communication could be automated. And then admin Notion team, like there was some stuff that I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm sure there's a software.
One
And
thing I've been
then
coming
this,
to appreciate lately, by the way, is that sometimes automation can be a bit of a, uh, I don't know the right word for it, but if you build all the automations yourself, like sometimes I'll spend many, many hours building Notion templates for things that just take a few minutes that after a couple months I no longer even freaking do. Same with Zapier. And then your Zap
Mhm,
breaks and you got to go fix your Zap. So that is one thing to remember with automation is that it's not for free. Like it takes your time or it takes you paying an
mhm,
automation expert. I have somebody I've been working with who I think is going to help with the Zaps. They charge a couple $100 a month for just like kind of air quotes unlimited automation work, but
mhm.
it's not quite unlimited because they have a capacity and stuff. But the point I'm making is let's keep an eye on this. I think the good deciding
Okay.
factor is what do you have to keep doing every week for a long time? Because you're still in this exploration phase, and I am in DYF too.
Yeah.
Like you've been in the accelerator for a lot of it. You've seen how much the scope has kind of changed based on what people like and stuff. And so
Yeah.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
SOPs I created. I have a whole SOP for frog eating sessions. We don't even do those anymore. I spent like an hour making the SOP and we don't even do the frog eating sessions. So that's what I'm a little bit wary of. Let's see the tag for the ones you don't like.
That's a really good. And if you notice, there are very little the tasks that can be automated onto tech, because I can recognize that in myself too. I had my Notion era, really.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So things that I don't like is like two things. But I also just started this. This is gonna start to get more crazy. Okay, something I didn't enjoy, Zach, and it surprised me actually. So I had a meeting with this woman today, like 3 hours ago, and I decided, because hearing her project and her prices and her product, I decided I was going to pitch it higher and I was going to raise my prices, not only for her, but in general. Like I just felt
Hmm.
like I had to. And so I had to go in and change the price on my deck, on my
Mm.
service deck that I sent you, the one on Basecamp. And I looked at it and I was like, I have to change so many things. I have new testimonials, I have new work, and I spent 2 hours doing that. And I guess it was difficult because it's also like design. And I like what I don't like, I love designing, I love doing this, but I love that it's such a distraction. So if I could
Hmm.
delegate it to someone that I know that they're just going to change the price and then that's it, then that would be amazing.
What about,
Because. Mhm.
if I may stop you, what about if you just didn't have a fucking service deck? And
What do
the
you
the
mean?
reason the reason I mentioned it, I know it's blowing your mind right now, is like when I was running my consultancy, most slash all of my work came from referrals. So by the time I spoke with somebody, they already fundamentally trusted me because they came from referral. They
Mhm,
already wanted to work with me because I did some work for someone who had like kind of semi-celebrity status with them or whatever. So they want to work specifically with Zach. They don't just want some web
mhm.
designer and they're considering me. And I kind of get the vibe that that is exactly the case with you. Like when you speak with someone, they're not shopping. They're saying, I want to work with Maya. Is that accurate or
Yeah.
do you think that's not accurate?
It is accurate, but I also feel like these decks have been what have made me thousands of dollars. That it's the only reason why my business is going well is because of my two decks. That's what I feel. And it's what I tell all my clients actually. because they're like, oh, my website. And I'm like, I've been able to really get super far with just service decks. So I feel you, but I do feel like it gives them my exact vibe. Even today, I did something different. I met with this woman that's going to start working with me on aligned content strategy, my 2-week one. And before the meeting, I say, hey, babes, here's my deck, just in case, if you can review it before meeting, just so we can use the meeting to learn about your story. Because in mine, it says a little bit about my story. Hello, I'm Maya. What's the story of this service? I spent 1 year off Instagram and I really connected with my purpose and I want to help you do the same thing. And I felt like that background, because it's not just like on the menu, this is 1,000, this is 2,000. It's something that speaks about a journey. And I feel like that's what that's my unique selling point, the deck. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I wanted to bring it up as a thought experiment. So it sounds like for you, you're not using the deck so much to close as you are to prime. Is that right?
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Totally.
I misunderstood then. So yeah, if you're using to prime, I guess then the next question is, could you have your junior designer make the edits?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thing is, I'm not at a point yet with her, because we're still very much like, I am doing a 45-day trial with her before fully hiring her. I'm not in the phase where I feel like, hey, Anna, what are you doing? Can you do this for me? Because I told this woman that I was going to send her a proposal by end of day. So there are a lot of things that are time sensitive, which are the only time sensitive thing is if I meet with a client, they are a qualified lead and I have to send them something, it has to be me that does it.
Okay. Then thought experiment number 3. Can you make this a little bit more vague so that it is thereby more evergreen? So a good example is like with the DYF Accelerator, I have known that I'm in kind of an experimental phase. So the sales page for the accelerator, like it says, you get your weekly office hours, you get your weekly accelerator sessions, but it never said anything about the fact that I'm doing 2 office hours a week. It never said anything about the fact that I'm doing 3 accelerators a week generally. It never said anything about the frog eating sessions. Like it was very vague because I knew that the scope was going to change based on what people want. And that if I go in and edit that page every time something changes, it's going to be constant work. I wonder if in this case, your service deck could be more about what you were saying, like giving people your vibe, showing some testimonials, like getting them really excited to talk with you, but not needing to quote necessarily specifics of the package, maybe more talking about the business impact of the package. Like not here's what I'll do, but here's what this thing will do for you. Like talking about the benefits more than the features, because if it were that, I would think you wouldn't have to update it necessarily so much. I don't know what you think. Do you think that having the features there is really important, or do you think you could make it a little bit more vague or evergreen or something?
The thing that I always change is just the price. Like what I changed today is a little bit of language. I made it a bit less hippie, a bit shorter. Then I was like, this margins need to be like, it was mostly design. I spent 2 hours just designing because,
So you were just nerding out over spacing and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't do anything to it. I was like changing the typefaces. Like it wasn't, this is why I'm putting this, like, I need to delegate this, or I need to say I am going to change the price and that is it.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm going to, do something really bad. Like I really have to be so careful with designing my own things because then I spent 3 hours doing it, Like last week, I really realized, when I built that whole website for the membership that I want to do, I was like, Zach, I only did it in 4 hours and I used my weekend for it. And it's like, yeah, but I could have used it for other things that are more in a proximity to what I'm actually trying to do, So I have to be really careful with that.
So I can give you a tag to create that I find helpful. You'll find it helpful in the moment. I have a tag in my toggle that's called something along the line,
The kryptonites.
Yeah, I call it something like things that didn't really move the needle or something like that.
Okay.
I had it today. I was writing to tomorrow's newsletter for the DYF email list, and it's about like productivity and stuff. And I was like wanting to create a really built out Notion template to create and like just all of these Notion structures to give as like an extra thing within there. But then I'm like, gosh, dude, you're going down a rabbit hole right now. This is the kind of thing that should be maybe part of like a free course or a course or whatever, but like you're trying to write this newsletter within like a couple hours. You cannot be making all of these Notion things. And I was able to hit escape before it became like a 6-hour rabbit hole. But I don't think I would have even thought about hitting escape until it was too late if I didn't have this tag. Because it's like what you're experiencing so far. Like simply tracking your time, simply having the tag, it brings the awareness to the moment, even though it's almost meant as a reactive, retroactive thing. So maybe you'll find that useful.
No, I will. Like another really embarrassing example, like I literally was looking for like hex colors on Illustrator because I wanted to make this pretty, and then I was like, come on, like literally this is your time tracker, like I should be time tracking that, Literally.
That's the cost of tracking your time, is when you have to configure your time tracker.
Yeah, but, and when you're a designer, it's amazing.
That is legit something you could have your design assistant do. Like you could say, actually. Like, and it's a nice way to prioritize too, because if it's not worth you paying your assistant like $100 to do it, is it really worth you paying 4 hours of your own time to do something?
Of your own time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
So we have a little bit more of a pulse of the Basecamp, or sorry, you're calling it expansive coaching, but it's like previous playbook. What's the current name?
Align content strategy. You can just call it content strategy.
Okay, and that's the coaching, and that takes how long? A month?
No, 2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks, and then you said 5 hours, but it could maybe be 4 hours plus 1 staff hour.
Let me tell you the difference. Exactly. Let me tell you the difference. So I have right now, I have Basecamp, which I haven't changed. It's the same. The only thing I'm doing is that I'm raising the price a little bit. It was 2,222, and now I'm doing it to 2,660. And I have Align Content Strategy, formerly known as Playbook, that is a 2-week intensive with me. And then the one that is like a beta test is the 888 coaching month, which has 2 calls with me, and like Notion support.
Okay, so you have 2 things that cost 888 now, is what you're saying. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Which is like, think about the coaching one as a long playbook that takes the same amount of hours, but it's not so focused on content strategy. But for some people, and I'm really happy for this, some people are really starting to come to me for creative mentoring for their arts and stuff. So I decided to not focus so much on content strategy, but more on like coaching, like real mentoring, like start then learn your projects type thing. So those are my 3 offerings right now.
And just to make the most of our few minutes before we have to go, I'm trying to think of like how this plays into the next steps. One thing that we didn't talk about with this like 888 5-hour project thing, we didn't really talk about how much time usually goes into that for things like sales calls or lead gen and stuff. Like how many sales calls do you have to do to get one of these clients? Granted, this is the kind of thing that long term you could have just on your website where someone pays for it, just a 20-minute call or whatever. But if we're thinking about how to optimize, at least in terms of this early pass, it looks like your effective hourly rate for the content strategy thing is looking fine. It's at 177.5. It's not epic, but the thing is, once you raise your lead flow, you can raise your price for that too. So it's not like it's going to be 888 forever. Yeah.
No, super profitable. I'm even like, you're gonna kill me, but I'm even thinking of lowering that a little bit and removing some materials, so it's even a shorter one. Like making it a 3-hour thing and just having 888 for my bigger one. But that's a conversation for another time. I'm thinking about it. Maybe not. But based on your reaction, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I still think you're undercharging, so I'm a little bit hesitant to see you going in the downward direction.
I know.
This coming week, is this between now and when we chat next, is it going to be a regular like 30-hour work week, you reckon? Okay. So what I didn't get the update on was you doing some like interviewing what was the hypothetical service offering? I didn't even write down what it was. What was a hypothetical service offering from last time that we were talking about?
That I was going to tell Donna, the skincare specialist, I was going to tell her, Donna, I'm starting to do like, this is my first month on retainer with her because last month I did playbook for 2 weeks and she said, I really like it. I want to start working on a retainer with you. I said, yes, let's do 888. I am doing a better trial. These are better prices. I'm happy to give you better prices, but we need to track your progress. Like we need to track your numbers. We need to track and you need to share with me just so I know that my service works. That was
And how'd that go?
Amazing. She loved it. So I'm with her this month.
So 888 is the beta price?
Yeah, for coaching.
Cool. And so that's the one is it the one you described as the 1 month of support? So that would be an ongoing thing forever?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's lovely because that's what I was kind of wanting to segue into is how can we add a recurring revenue component? And it sounds like this is exactly that. So this is providing valuable. Okay, cool. Then, I'll be really keen to hear how many hours that costs you this month. And
with Donna.
What was that? Sorry.
With this woman, with Donna, with this client. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So you're keeping track of that. We'll dig later into the sales metrics and stuff. For this week, so in my ideal world, I would be getting your rates at least double what they are now, because I really think that for what you're offering, you're undercharging. But the difficulty that you're going to face is that it's not a problem with what you're offering that's going to stop you from hitting certain ceilings. It's who you're offering it for. And so if all of your things are like, hey, here's how you get started kinds of things, it is generally harder to charge more for things that help people get started than for things that magnify what's already happening. So that is going to be a thing for later. But maybe for this week, if it sounds good to you, if this is normal work week, maybe do the normal thing, invest 5 hours into lead gen and see how many leads you can get for 5 hours if you're using it the best way possible. I'll be keen to start getting you into other channels soon. So exploring that whole podcasting thing. We don't really have time to dig into it today, but I think that might be nice to have on your mind. Is that in progress? You're getting things coming together for that?
Yes, interviewing someone that has a really cool similar audience, but more on an educator side, not so much a client. I'll tell you more on the other side because this is a whole another tangent. But yes, that's really the goal.
Okay, cool. So then kind of making steps towards that might be smart. If you have a lot of in the business work, then you got to prioritize that. So I think maybe I don't have some grand homework assignment or something, since things seem generally fine. Just the biggest one, track all your freaking time, because I want to know what each project costs, and then keep the leads flowing in. And if you ever hit your cap on the amount of distance booked out of I think frankly 2 months out, I think you just raise your price a little bit, because I do think you could be charging more. I don't know how this all sounds to you.
No, it sounds great. And I'll let you know next week what this woman and this other person say about me charging more for this project for the first time in Basecamp.
Lovely. Awesome. Anything in the one remaining minute before I got to go to the office hours?
I'm just so happy, the fact that I'm Zach, I'm goalless. What the fuck? Great coaching. I love it. Seriously. Awesome. I feel very clear on what I have to do.
Perfect. Yeah, it's great seeing you making these strides forward. So I'm happy from my side, even if it does feel weird not having some grand homework assignments to give you. It's good.
I feel you.
Cool. All right, well, then I'll do the typical sign-off thing, and then I'll hit stop, and we'll remember not to leave. So we always forget. Riverside, for you, the listener, Riverside, you have to stay in here, and if you forget, you got to come back later and upload. It's a whole thing. We always forget. Anyway, listener, if you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe because it's good for you. Because if you subscribe, you're going to get more helpful stuff like this. And leaving a review helps Maya and I keep creating things like this, which helps you. So it's in your best interest, really, to like and subscribe. And if you want to join the Accelerator for coaching, you'll get one-on-one coaching just like this. It's 20 minutes, and I'm about to go to one right now that starts in 1 minute. So my sign-off is very rushed. But basically, you book a 20-minute slot, you jump in, you ask me questions like Maya did. I connect on last week's goals, challenges, assign some new homework, that sort of thing. And you can learn more at dyf.link/DYFA. And if you want to learn more about Maya's business, let's see if I remember now. I think it is Instagram at Maya Ben. Is that right? Did I remember?
Amazing.
Nice. So that's MaiaBen. Great chat, Maya. And we'll chat next week.
Thank you so much, Zach. Ciao. See you next week.
See ya.